Hello, today I would like to talk about three different trades on the short-term market. Let me start with China Main. So this is the short-term market from China Main to South America East Coast Main. And what you do see is the market average short-term over the last 12 months. Yeah, like in all the other trades out of Asia on the short-term market, the prices went up end of last year, mainly because of IMO 2020 and the Chinese New Year. And since that, we see a drop from roughly 2,900 to currently a price level of 1,800, which is quite massive here when we see a reduction of $1,000 on the short-term market. But when you go back, for example, last year, in May, the price level was roughly 1,500. And if we even go back further in the history, you see what kind of rate levels we had at that time. Yeah, on the average, we were below 1,300. And this was in 18, December 18. Before that, the prices were quite high. So therefore, there was a certain time where the prices were below the current level, but there was also quite a long time in 17 and 18 where the average prices were higher. As usual, you should always check the short-term market as well. And this one is dropping in the same way like the average. But as well over here, it is still at the moment at 1,000 market low. And the previous time, even in 2019, it was as low as 750. And before it was even down to 500 also in December 2018. Yeah, so therefore we see still a clear downward trend, and we'll see how this will move on the upcoming weeks. But overall, we are at a level which is still slightly higher compared to the levels in 2019 or first half of 2019. Talking about another trade, yeah, North Europe Main to South America East Coast Main. Yeah, this one is quite stable on the average side. Here, end of April last year was roughly 1,500. It dropped a little bit. Yeah, as low as 1,330. And as well over here, November, December, prices went up to roughly 1,500, slightly below. What's quite interesting to see, IMO 2020 had no impact at all when it was finally introduced in January 2020. Probably this was already visible in November. And we have seen downward trends since then on this market, not that strongly. Slightly upwards again in end of Feb and March. And now it's going up and down. And currently it is again on a slightly higher level and more or less on the same level like we have seen it last year in April. Over here as well, when you check what's going on the low end, yeah, and this is quite interesting to see. The real market low is still at a quite low level. There's some movement. Yeah, last year, November to December, the low went up by $100. Roughly since then, it was dropping, and it is somehow remaining around 500. Yeah, so on this trade, there's a quite big delta between the real market low prices, what we see, and the average. Another trade which is of interest, not the strongest one because of related to the volumes, but by transit time, one of the trades where we have a quite long transit time. Over here as well, just check the market average over the last 12 months on the short term. Yeah, this is as well gate and all in for 40 feet rate. And last year in April, the prices were around $2,000. There was a smaller dip, and since then the prices went up, especially end of the year up to 2,400. Yeah, on this trade with a real implementation of IMO 2020, same like on the other trades. Again, there was no impact on January because this impact was mainly in November and December seen, and the short-term market even dropped from December to January quite considerably, from 2,400 up to 2,186. Kept stable, and we have seen an increase again in March. Yeah, which is already a bit down by some dollars in April. And we need to monitor this closely, what's going on over here and how this is moving forward. Yeah. Quite interesting over here is as well the short-term market, because the short-term market is way higher compared to last year. Currently it is at roughly 1700, yeah, in April, and last year same time was at 1350. Yeah, so there is a bigger delta. That means at the low end carriers quoted on a higher side, so therefore there are not that many contracts at the very low end on this trade. Yeah, which is for sure for carriers probably very beneficial and a big advantage, and this should be seen as well when you are going to negotiate your prices. So yeah, if you have any questions, as usual, just reach out to us. Stay safe and speak soon.